Wells versus Wells that was set here to allow us to consider a motion to alter or amend the summer visitation. And I believe Father's the one who filed the motion, is that correct?
That is correct, Judge.
Right. And I believe we have Mr. Wells on Zoom link from his home in
We do, Park City, Utah, yes. Sorry, go on.
Good morning. If you want to make an opening statement to kind of clarify what exactly it is we're dealing with.
Judge, before I start, I'd ask that the minor child please be removed from the courtroom. She should be in school, but she's here right now, and I would ask that she not be in the courtroom during this.
Appropriate. Make sure that the monitor outside, Tyler, is off, please.
Thank you, Judge. So, Your Honor, we're here because we're asking that we are able to change the upcoming summer schedule for the benefit of the minor child. So, unfortunately, we are here today because mom refuses to again co-parent with dad. So I actually did bring the transcript, Judge, from our last hearing where you asked that we not come back. And there was
I often ask parties to not come back. It's a wish.
Wishful thinking.
That is not very often fulfilled, unfortunately.
So a part of the transcript, you said, they're going to both have to start acting like responsible adults who don't hate each other's guts. If I have to hear the final hearing about the modification that's been requested, I'm going to consider how they have both acted between now and then. So both of you are setting a record of your behavior from this point forward that the court will consider in the final analysis. So my advice would be that you both need to start cooperating with each other and quit trying to play games, because clearly this court is going to make the decision that I think is the appropriate one under the law and the facts. And I'm not going to be impressed with people who are trying to make life difficult for the other one just to get back at the other one. That's essentially why we're here today, Judge. During our last hearing in January, you dismissed the TRO. That was the only reason we were here. And you said that Dad's visitation was going to be in the local access area for his monthly parenting time. We didn't talk about summer parenting time, and that was 6 months ago. Dad's parenting time right now in the summer is week on, week off. Last summer, Dad was able to work with his new employment to be able to come back to Tennessee for every week that he had with the minor child. He can't do that again. He's an anesthesiologist. They were kind enough to do that your first year. You understand when you have a really busy job, they expect you to be somewhere. It's his second year there, they're not allowing that. So the minor child will have to travel to and from Utah. So what we're asking, and Dad has made proposals, and I have the proposals for you to look at because Mom refuses to even acknowledge them, is that it will limit the minor child's travel time to and from Utah in the summer. So what that would mean is right now, if we did week on, week off, she's gonna be traveling 5 times, going back and forth to Utah and Tennessee. Instead, what we're doing is we've come up with a proposal that could limit it to 3 times she would have to travel, or maybe 2 times. Everybody gets their parenting time. It doesn't change the day count. My client's time is majority spent in the summer with the minor child. And once again, we're here because Mom wants to basically say, well, if you can't come to Tennessee, then you can't see the child. And that's too bad, because her entire game has always been to try and take away Dad's parenting time until he doesn't have any. You've seen it time and time again. This is why we've been before you time and time again. So we're asking that we are able to change the upcoming parenting schedule so that Dad has his time with the minor child. The minor child doesn't have to travel and go through jet lag and back and forth as much. So this will limit that. And this, honestly, in a long distance parenting plan, isn't unusual to ask for, to not have week on, week off, and have 3 weeks or every 2 weeks or even a month with the parent that's long distance. So that's what we're asking for today, Judge.
We hear from counsel for the mother.
Morning, Your Honor. Brad Frakes of the National Bar on behalf of the mother for the limited purpose of this motion today. I was not representing the mother on January 29th, 2024 at the last hearing, or the hearing at issue, Your Honor. But the transcript from that hearing, the court's ruling from the bench was specifically that my intention is to dissolve the restraining order and replace it just with the restriction that the visitation that he has occur in the county where she is living in. That there will be no influence of this child one way or the other about her desire to be with the father or not be with her father. My client's position is that the court didn't differentiate at that point in time between monthly weekend parenting time and summer parenting time. Her understanding is that the summer parenting time is to be taking place in the state of Tennessee as well. Due to the fact that it's currently scheduled for a week on, week off, I would suggest to the court that that's the more logical issue, because the travel would be greater every other week from Utah to Tennessee and back. My client is asking that the father be ordered to exercise his parenting time here, or that the court just make a clarification of what the understanding was at that time. I will admit that the order that was entered on April 24th states monthly weekend parenting time, but it doesn't address summer parenting time at all. If this child has to go back and forth on a weekly basis, that would defeat the purpose of the court's prior ruling, obviously, because that would be more travel for the child. If this child has to do 2-week intervals or more than 2-week intervals, it's not going to be in her best interest, because it's going to prevent her from participating in almost any scholastic or extracurricular activities or camps that she's enrolled in for the summer. So we're asking the court to find that the summer parenting time be exercised in the state of Tennessee. Also, we would suggest to the court that the father's not going to be present for the majority of the parenting time in the state of Utah if he's allowed to do so, because he's going to be working during that time, Your Honor.
So what is your suggestion? Obviously, what the father is saying is that his work schedule has changed and he's not able to effectively travel back and forth and alternate his visitation here and exercise it here in the state of Tennessee because of his employment, if he has alternating weekly summer visitations. So, and that is a present court order for summer. The prior orders of this court that were modifying the schedule and so forth didn't address the summer, if I understand correctly. It's been a while, so.
You're correct, Judge.
Pardon?
You're correct, Judge. It didn't address the summer schedule.
So the summer visitation on the original parenting was alternating weeks. So my question to you is, what is your suggestion if you're saying you don't want to let him take the child to Utah every other week, and you don't want to let him take the child to and from Utah on a 2-week or a 3-week basis? Is your client's suggestion just that he still has to come here to exercise his visitation, or not at all?
That he comes here to exercise his visitation, Your Honor, or more properly, I think, the solution that neither party or the child is going to necessarily like, but what I think is more fair and equitable between all of them, is to allow him to come here to exercise his visitation when he's able to during the summer months, and to give him 1 week in June and 1 week in July, where the minor child doesn't miss out on the majority of her scholastic and extracurricular activities.
So in other words, completely modify the summer schedule of the parenting plan.
I think that's the only alternative, Your Honor. The child doesn't need to travel back and forth that often.
Well, if that's the case, then one of the options I have is to alter the parenting plan, if we're going to alter the summer parenting plan, and just let her go stay with the father the entire summer.
And then she misses the entire scholastic and extracurricular
These parties
activities.
got a divorce, and that oftentimes negatively impacts children. I don't like that. I don't like the idea that that's what happens. It's always the children who suffer in these situations when the parents can't set aside their own personal interests and they think about it. In this case, how old is this young lady?
16 at the end of this month, Your Honor.
16. So we've got a 16-year-old, and in 2 years, she's going to be able to tell them both to take a flying leap off a cliff if she wants to, and she can do whatever she wants to. She can see them or not see them, either one of them, both of them. And unfortunately, that may be where we're headed in some of these instances. So, all right.
I would also suggest to the court that the father's the party, obviously, who chose to relocate after the last order was entered.
Here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Put on your proof.
Judge, if I may, my client has come up with some proposals. If we can give that to the judge, please.
Are you going to put your client on as your first witness?
I wasn't going to put a witness on. I just wanted to do a real quick, just redirect to what Mr. Frakes had to say, which is that option number 4 changes the schedule. What it does is 5 days ago, right before we had this hearing, mom decided to, originally, the minor child was supposed to have, I believe, just like a ballet camp, and there was one other activity. So dad made a proposal that worked around that. 5 days ago, mom now put her into a whole bunch of things, including stuff that, of course, was on dad's week to ensure that dad would be forced to either come here or not be able to do his parenting time. So what option 4 does, Your Honor, is It makes sure that the child does not miss any activities while still getting to spend the same amount of day count with dad during his summer parenting time in Utah and same amount of time that she's supposed to have with mom here in Tennessee, Judge.
All right. So do you want to offer proof on this matter?
I mean, that's fine I can put on
I
proof.
don't care. I'm just saying, if you want me to make the decision, I have to hear what the proof is. Right now, all I've heard is arguments. So you're going to have to.
Absolutely. So I would like to put my client on as proof then, please.
Wells, raise your right hand. Let's place you under oath. The truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Robert Allen Wells.
And were you divorced from Shelley Ann Wells?
Yes,
You have a minor child with Miss Wells?
I do.
What is the name and age of the minor child that you have with Miss Wells?
Ella Jade Wells, and she is 15 years old.
Do you have a court-ordered permanent parenting plan with Miss Wells?
Yes, I do.
And that's been modified a couple times, correct?
That is correct.
And who's the primary residential parent?
Shelley.
And how many days is Miss Wells awarded parenting time with the minor child?
I know that I have 74.5 days, so that's going to be the difference between 365 and 74.5.
And what's the majority of the parenting time that you get to spend with the minor child? When is that?
The majority happens during the summers.
And what does that current schedule look like?
Currently, our summer schedule begins on June 2nd, and it ends during the week right before the week where school starts. So for this year, it's going to be, I believe, August 4th.
And that's usually a week on, week off schedule, correct?
That is correct.
Now, were you able last summer to do the week on, week off schedule?
Yes, and that was because I was during my negotiation with my employer, they were willing to bring me on and work like every other week in Utah and allow me to do my parenting time. They did give me notice at that time that for this summer that I would have to follow their employment policy in terms of summer vacation.
So what does your summer schedule look like this year then, Mr. Wells?
With my summer schedule, I am not allowed to because I'm basically a junior partner. I'm not allowed to take 35 to 36 days off during the summer because those are protected summertime for all the employees because it's a very popular time for people to take off. So as I'm a junior partner, I don't get 35 to 36 days off to do 1 week on, 1 week off.
And can you tell the court, what do you do for a living, Mr. Wells?
I'm an anesthesiologist.
So you don't really have the option and there's no flexibility in your schedule, correct?
There is no flexibility. I'm involved in, I have call responsibilities for the hospital as well as call responsibilities for the liver transplant team.
And when was this schedule established for your summer work schedule?
This summer, we put in our requests 9 months ahead. As early as 9 months ahead, but they aren't really finalized until basically about a month or two ahead. And so this time has already been finalized.
And Mr. Wells, you have proposed to the court, which I just gave to the judge, some options for a different summer parenting schedule. Now, I understand that number 4 was the most optimal. Mr. Frax, you have that copy, correct? Can we just discuss why is number 4 optimal? What are you looking for a summer schedule this summer?
Well, what I'm looking for is to try to find a way to, number 1, reduce the amount of travel for Ella. And number 2, is there a way that we can, logically and fairly divide the weeks up where the activities that she wants to do in Tennessee, she's able to do those for the camp in particular that she wants to go in Memphis during June. I want to make sure that she's able to be picked up and dropped off during that time, and as well as these, she has an ACT test that she's been signed up for in the beginning of June in Tennessee, and as you had stated before, the ACT test, the camps at ETSU. I heard no knowledge. I had no discussion of this. I did not hear this from Ella during any time during my monthly parenting time with her beforehand. I learned about these 5 days ago before the hearing. Previously, we had 3 proposals. But with that new information, got to work and found a way to make it where everybody can do everything that they need to do. She can make her ACT test. She can make her camps in ETSU in Tennessee, and everybody has the same amount of days, and the travel burden is much, much less.
So, Mr. Wells, you would say that you care deeply about your time with the minor child, correct?
I care deeply about my time with her. I also care deeply that, she's able to do the things that she has said that she wants to do. Again, she never made any mention to me about any weekly camps in ETSU or about wanting to take the ACT this summer. But, her mom sent the invitations 5 days ago. I trust that that's what, Ella, that said she wants to do. And so I'm going to find a way to make it work.
And that's what you've done with this proposal right here, correct, Mr. Wells?
That is correct.
And Mr. Wells, was it your hope that we could have handled this just attorneys to attorneys, or you and Ms. Wells could have handled this together without involving the court?
Well, yeah, ideally, we should be able to, in the best interest of Ella, figure out a way where her interests are going to be placed ahead, and we can solve this like, mature, smart, responsible people who care about our daughter.
So, Mr. Wells, are you asking the court today to pick one of these proposals
Yes.
and to modify the summer parenting schedule,
Yes.
but to be able to maintain the amount of days you are supposed to have with the minor child?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. That's all.
You may cross-examine.
Mr. Wells, where are you employed, sir?
I am employed at Mountain West Anesthesia.
And you are an anesthesiologist, correct?
That is correct.
Stated a junior partner.
I am a Class B partner, which is a junior partner.
What is your work schedule, sir?
My work schedule is defined a lot by the call responsibilities that we share amongst our partners.
What is your general work schedule, sir?
General work schedule is anywhere from about, depending on the staffing needs, anywhere from about 4 to 5 days during the work week. Typically about 1 weekend a month for call responsibilities on a weekend.
How many hours per week do you generally work, sir?
Depending on the week, but usually around 50 hours.
Okay, for June, the week of June 2nd, what is your current work schedule?
I'd have to look at that on my phone. So for the week of June 2nd, I have, beginning on the 2nd, I would be anticipating picking up Ella as of right now, and then being able to have Monday as a day to travel back. And as of right now, 3 days during the week where I may have to work, but then Friday would be off and the weekend would be off.
Okay, and how many hours would you work during those 3 days, sir?
During those 3 days, if it's about, and I'm going to estimate about an 8-hour day. Again, it depends upon the surgery schedule, but 24 hours that week.
Okay, and during those 24 hours, where would Ella be?
During those 24 hours, Ella would be primarily at my house.
Who lives with you, sir?
I live with my partner, Laurie Gomer.
Okay, would she be providing supervision for Ella?
She works from home primarily. So she would be able to check in on Ella and make sure that Ella is doing well on close at hand while I'm at work.
If you were awarded summer parenting time from June 9th to June 30, or I'm sorry, from June 9th until July 7th as you're requesting,
Yes.
how many days have you scheduled off during that period of time? How many days?
During that time, I haven't counted them up because I put some of my advanced vacation notices based on the anticipated travel days if it had to be week on, week off. And so I would imagine that the amount of days off during that time, including weekend days, would be about 15, 16.
Do I understand you to state that you haven't scheduled any days during the week off for that period of time as of yet?
There are weekdays that have been taken off for travel, anticipation of having to travel back and forth if we could not get to any kind of resolution on changing the summer schedule.
What days are those, sir?
Those days would be occasionally, it has to depend on week, but on usually Mondays and Fridays that are like on a weekend where I'm not working.
So the majority of the time that, under this schedule, if the court approves of it, the majority of the time that Ella is in Utah with you, she would be at your house while you were at work, correct?
The majority, it's hard to say majority of the time, but I think that I'd say about half the time I will be free with her to be able to have, father-daughter time. And then there will be times where I will have to work because I can't take a solid month off of vacation as a junior partner.
I understand that, sir, but is there any possibility of you taking a full week off or 2 full weeks off during the summer?
I would have to ask my employer and probably try to see if I can get a hardship for that. It's a very, summer, as you know, summer is a very popular time for people to want to take stretches of weeks off at a time. And by our policy, we are limited to the amount of vacation days that can be taken off at one time.
You said that you wanted to do what was in Ella's best interest, obviously, correct?
That is correct.
Do you not believe that it would be in Ella's best interest if you were able to take 1 to 2 weeks off during the summer months to spend the time with her?
I am constrained. I would love to be fully retired and have all the time in the world to be with my daughter as I could, but I have to be able to, support her and support, my family, and I have to work, and I have to work within the constraints of what they are allowing me to do.
I understand, sir, and I want to make it clear my client's not blaming you for working, but do you believe it would be in Ella's best interest if during the time that you were working, she was able to stay in the state of Tennessee and attend the scholastic and extracurricular activities she's wanting to attend or has registered for already?
Well, as we noted in proposal 4, these scholastic activities that she wants to do in Tennessee, we're able to have she's able to have that opportunity to stay with her mom during that time. It would be close at hand. I believe option 4 is the fairest opportunity and fairest option for everyone. She has indicated to me that she wants to do the mock trial camp at Rhodes College in Memphis. She's talked about it. She's talked about it for months. And I said, Ella, I don't know exactly whose time it's going to be on, whether it's going to be on your mom's time or my time. But if you apply, and you want to go, I will make sure that you get to go. I will pay your way. I will see that, we're able to get you transportation there, transportation back. We'll make it happen if that's what you want to do. That's really the only camp where she has expressed to me that she has a lot of interest. These other ones, they appeared on the shared family calendar 5 days ago. Ella has not made any mention of that to me, in our communication since then, either via text or phone call. But I found a proposal where if she wants to go, she can go to that, and we can, everybody would be, I think it just would be a fair way of dividing the time where nobody loses a day and everybody, is able to do the things that, they need to do and want to do.
How many hours would you assume you've averaged this year at work per week?
It depends again, on call responsibilities, week by week, but it typically averages about 50 hours a week.
Okay, and during the time that Ella's in Utah, if the court approves of this proposal, during the 50 hours that you're not at the home per week, what do you anticipate Ella will be doing in Utah?
Judge, this was asked and answered already.
I believe he has asked, that's been asked and answered, sustained.
Could you repeat the question again, or?
I've sustained an objection to the question that we've been already asked and answered. So.
If the court approves of your proposal, sir, how are you going to transport Ella?
I would fly to Tennessee, and we would do our pickup at her high school, which is where her mom and I have agreed to do exchanges at. and I would pick her up at 6 p.m. on the Sunday of that week and return her back on 6 p.m. the Sunday where she needs to be at in July.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Wells, you understand your daughter's about to be 16, and she is present here today. I don't know if they're going to ask me to talk with her or hear her testimony, but you understand that in 2 years, she can just tell you that she doesn't want to see you at all.
Yes, sir.
She doesn't want to come to Utah, and if you want to see her, you're going to have to come here. And you understand that in the prior hearing that we had, she was resistant to, I think at that time, driving the long distances and that you were driving a lot at that point, if I recall correctly. And she was objecting to having to take those long trips to Utah. Now, if she is resistant to the idea of coming out there according to your schedule, is it your desire to force that issue and to make her come anyway?
I would love to have time with her. I did say that if she wants to go to the camp in Memphis, I'll see that she gets there and I'll pay her way. It's, there's no, she's going to be 16. She doesn't want to come out here. That's not an issue that I really want to force.
Well, that's the as a parent of children and myself, and having parented some teenagers, my concern is, and having done this for a long time too, on both sides of the bench, my concern is forcing your 16-year-old, and I'm just going to treat her as 16 because she's almost there, to come out there according to your schedule, and ordering that to take place may do more harm to your relationship than actually improving the relationship, if you understand what I'm saying. 16 years old, you take a child out of 16, she's got friends, she's got activities, not just these scholastic activities or extracurricular activities. She's got friends that she hangs with, I'm sure, as a 16-year-old. And I'm just wondering how she's going to feel about being told she's got to go out there for a 4-week period and be away from all of those friends and family. So I just want you to think about it from that term. I'm not asking you to really have that solution. The solution is you both live here in the same area and you have your regular visitation. Your move to Utah, which is great for your profession, has not been so great for this court's ability to ensure that you have a parenting schedule that's the same as what you had before. And there in the middle of this scenario lies your daughter, who is the one that's being affected by whether or not we send her out to Utah every other week during the summer. I said at the last hearing, if I recall correctly, that I've been to Utah. It's a beautiful place, and I think she would benefit by spending time out there. But it's a question of how do we arrange that so that she is not negatively impacted. All right. I'm sorry. Do you have anything else, Ms. Roman?
Just a couple questions, Judge.
Mr. Wells, before you moved to Utah, where did you live?
I lived in Kingston Springs.
And where did the minor child live?
She was living in Johnson City.
And how far away was that hour-wise?
That
No, where Johnson City is. It's about a 4-hour drive.
Is it about a 4? Honestly, Judge, I still don't know. So it's about a 4-hour drive. Is that correct?
it, depending on traffic in Knoxville, pushes it out to 5.
So when you used to do your summer schedule, you were driving about 4 or 5 hours to pick up the minor child, drive her back to Kingston Springs?
Yes.
So she's always been traveling back and forth long periods of time.
That is correct.
That's all, Judge.
All right. Mr. Frakes, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wells. Mr. Rosen, you have anything else you want to offer? Any other proof?
No, Judge, that's all.
Mr. Frakes, do you have any proof you wish to offer?
Your Honor, I'd ask to be able to call the minor child Ella Wells.
All right. When she comes in to testify, just don't put the camera on. Mr. Wells, we live stream all of our proceedings on YouTube, and we do not ever show a child that testifies, and so as a result, we're going to cut the camera and the audio feed, I think, to allow, well, you'll have to have the audio feed so that you can hear what she says, but we're not going to show her on camera. So.
Thank you, Judge.
Come on up here. We ask you to come around here.
This way?
Oh, we are over here, sorry. Go that way. Yeah.
Would you state your name, please?
My name is Ella Wells.
And Ella, how old are you currently?
I'm 15 years old. I turned 16 on May the 23rd.
Okay, and after May 23rd, do you intend to get a driver's license soon thereafter?
Yes.
Do you already have a vehicle?
Yes.
Are you wanting to go to spend the majority of the summer or half of the summer this year with your father and you?
No.
Okay, just let me ask you the questions and take your time to think about it, then answer. What are you wanting to do this summer? What do you have planned?
I have 2 camps. I have an art camp and a computer science camp, as well as a mock trial workshop in Tennessee, is what I have planned so far.
And how long have these events been planned?
About a month. The first 2 are tentative, but the mock trial camp is definite.
Okay, when is the last time you spent an extended period of time in Utah with your father?
The week that I spent over Christmas break.
Okay, and during that week, was your father home the majority of the time?
Likely no. I didn't leave my room for most of the time because of their dog.
What did you do when you were in Utah for that week?
Very little, honestly. We went out to a few events with my grandmother, but otherwise almost nothing.
Are you willing, or you don't get to choose, but if you had your choice, would you be willing to go to Utah for a period of time during the summer months?
I don't ever want to go back.
You wouldn't even agree to spend 1 week per month in June and July with your father in Utah if you could spend the remainder of the time in Tennessee?
If I had my choice, I wouldn't want to.
How are your grades currently?
I believe I have a 4.0 A's in every subject so far as I'm aware.
And when are you scheduled to take the ACT?
I believe June 8th. I don't know the exact date, but it's either June 8th or possibly 9th.
And if you don't go to Utah for the summer, what will you be doing while you're in the state of Tennessee?
I'll be able to catch up with my speech and debate group and be able to actually make plans over the summer. My robotics team concentrates most of their time designing and building the robots in the summer, so I'll be able to take a more active role in that. The Quiz Bowl team is likely going to rehearse, and I'm slated to fill in as captain next year, so that would be really important to me, and I'll be able to do those 3 camps here.
And are you willing to spend time with your father if he comes to the state of Tennessee?
If I have to, yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Rose, you have your question?
Just a few, Judge. Should be quick.
Hi, Ella.
Hi.
Ella, is it true that when you were in Utah, you went ice skating with your dad, correct?
Yes, he asked what I would
That's,
choose.
Ella, that's it. You went to a New Year's Eve party, correct?
With my grandmother, like I stated.
You went to Christmas dinner.
With my family, with my grandmother, as I stated.
You went to the Drifter show.
With my grandmother and for my grandmother, as stated.
You went out to do dinners, correct? Other dinners other than just Christmas and New Year's Eve.
I'm trying to remember. I believe so, but likely again with my grandmother.
So you did do activities while you were in.
I said very few, I didn't say no.
But you went out, correct? You weren't just in your room the whole time?
I never denied that. I said I spent the majority of my time in my room. I never denied that.
That's all, Judge.
You know, Ella, I've talked to you before about this situation, and we talked about the fact that I have to enforce the law in the state of Tennessee. And whether you like it, whether I like it, whether your mother likes it, or whether your dad likes it, I have the responsibility to ensure that the law in the state of Tennessee, I'm sorry, I'm going to look through these legs there. I get the sense that you're angry about this situation. Would that be fair?
This was nothing I chose.
This was what?
This was nothing I chose. This is nothing I would want.
I know. And when you say this is nothing you chose, you're talking about the dispute between your mom and dad and the divorce, or just being here to testify?
No, I'm talking about the visitation. I didn't choose
Visitation.
this. I never wanted to go see him.
Okay. And you're not wanting to go see him, is that because you don't have a good relationship with him, or is it because of the fact that that's the distance and the situation?
we've never had a good relationship. He's never really been present, physically there, but he's been either absent with work or just straight up cruel when he was there.
Now, you understand that I may have to put an order down that you don't like. You understand that? And you're gonna have to be mad at me about that. Not mad at your father, not mad at your mother. You need to be mad at me about it.
I
right?
understand it's not your fault.
No, it is my fault. I'm the one who has to make these decisions. So what I'd rather you be mad at me than to be mad at one of your parents. Because I have to do what I think is right. And that may not be what either one of your parents thinks is the right thing. And it may not be what you think. But you're 16, and unfortunately at 16, we don't always get to choose what we want to do. We have preferences, we have things we want to do, but we're not always allowed to do them. I wanted a Corvette when I was 16. I didn't get it. I got a Volkswagen Beetle to drive on the weekends when my brother was home from college.
That's actually my dream car, so I think you're pretty lucky.
But in any event, what I'm telling you though is that, you know, at 16, we don't get to pick and choose things like we do when we're 18 or 19 or 20. I want you to be involved in your robotics team. I want you to be able to do the things you do. Now tell me about, let's say that you had to go see your dad, but not for half the summer. But would you rather do it like in one trip out there and then be done with that? And if he wanted to come see you, he'd have to come to Johnson City, or
How long would that one trip be? A week? 3
Well, it
weeks?
just depends. Either side have any questions for Ella?
No, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Thank you, Ella. You can go ahead and step outside if you'd like. So, well, we will hopefully not ever have to see you again except under better circumstances, okay? What other proof, Mr. Frakes?
Mother has no further proof, Your Honor. She closes.
Any rebuttal proof?
No, Judge.
I'm going to take a short recess and look over these schedules that have been proposed in the original parenting plan, and then I'll come back and give you my ruling. So.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All rise.
We're back on the record in the Wells versus Wells. There is never any easy decision to be made in cases where you have teenage children, especially where there seems to be some estrangement between Mr. Wells and the young lady. We had hearings in this case before in which she has testified, and I'm impressed. She's a very intelligent young girl, and she is a very strong-willed young lady, it appears to me. She obviously has some anger and hostility about being brought into the situation between her parents, and I can't blame her for that. In a perfect world, parents would cooperate, and even if Mr. Wells had to move to another location, there would be some encouragement. But according to her testimony, she's not had a particularly close relationship with Mr. Wells because he's always working and so forth. So balancing the situation as best I can, what we have in this situation is a prior order of the court that was not addressed in the emergency temporary restraining order to modify the summer visitation. And under that original order, they would have alternating weeks. But since there is a relocation by Mr. Wells to the state of Utah, and we dealt with some of that transport issues at that prior hearing in Ashland City, it becomes an issue for the court as to whether or not it is in this child's best interest to enforce the same order that was there, or to put down some sort of alternate order that might accommodate some visitation with Mr. Wells, albeit maybe not the same visitation. So both sides are actually asking for me to modify the prior order, but it's just a question of Mr. Wells doesn't want to lose any time, and he wants to have additional time with his daughter. And Mr. Wells has a ways to go to repair his relationship with his daughter, it seems to me, from what I have heard in both this hearing and the last hearing that we had. So the biggest objection that I'm hearing from this young lady is that the length of time that she's taken out of her community, where she and her friends and her school activities and her robotics classes, where she works on projects and so forth. So to accommodate that, I'm going to order that Mr. Wells will have an opportunity to have her come to the state of Utah. That will occur during the first period of the first time of the first part of the summer. And unless it's otherwise agreed, he will have her beginning June the 9th for a period of 4 days. And I'm shortening that period because that's one of the main concerns she had. So she'll fly out there to Utah and she'll spend 4 days with Mr. Wells. Mr. Wells needs to arrange his time off from work to be there for her. If you're ever going to have a good relationship with her, you're going to have to utilize that time. If you were living here and it was a day in, day out thing, yeah, you go to work like everybody else does and you spend time. That's part of being a parent. But your situation is unique in that you live in another state. She's having to come out there and then she sits in a room, according to her, having no interaction with anyone else there at the home. So we're basically taking her out of her normal relationship and putting her in a bedroom at your home while you're at work. And that is not, in this court's opinion, the best interest of the child. But neither do I feel like that a 16-year-old should be able to dictate how often she sees her father and so forth. So I'm going to allow Mr. Johnson to have an additional 2 weeks during the summer in Johnson City, Tennessee. And those need to be coordinated to where he can make sure that he can get her to those activities. My desire is not to punish Mr. Johnson, but if he can make his schedule arrange to have a couple of weeks of vacation during the summer, then that's what he needs to do. We have a motion down that has been filed by the mother in this case to modify the prior order of the court, and that I see has been set for July 29th by notice. So obviously this is something that we may have to deal with again in July in Ashland City. But for the moment, that's, to my knowledge, it's not a perfect situation, and I may grant him some additional visitation in July when we come back for that hearing. But right now, I think giving her an opportunity to come out to Utah and spend a few days when he is available, for a shorter period of time, taking her away is better than having the every other week or the 4 weeks that he wants. It doesn't have anything to do with Mr. Wells being a good parent or a bad parent. It has to do with you've got a 16-year-old who, if forcing a 16-year-old to go against her will to sit out there is not going to, in my opinion, rehabilitate your relationship. It's going to make it worse. So giving you a shorter period, but at your home that you can be there, seems to me to be that. Now, he can also, the parties can agree on any additional other alteration to that order. But absent the order, he'll exercise 2 additional weeks in addition to that June 9th to the I guess it would be June 9th through the 13th. And the travel days can be discounted from that. In other words, if they need to add a day on for travel, they can do that for that 4-day period. I want him to have 4 days with her in Utah rather than 7 days. And then the 2 weeks that'll be in Johnson City, you folks can pick those days and work it out. I think Mr. Wells is going to need time with his employment to work that out. And I would think surely to goodness you all can come up with an agreement for that. If you cannot, then you can get back with me and we'll schedule another Zoom hearing if necessary for me to make an arbitrary decision. And neither of you may like that. I'm reserving the issue of modifying the schedule further. If we have a hearing in July, I'm going to determine whether or not he gets some additional time. Now, obviously, if he can have a weekend or two and before that July 29th, then he may be able to have some additional time around when he comes to court in July. Maybe he can schedule one of those weeks for when he's going to be there for the court anyway. So, but the best I can do at this situation with the testimony of this young woman and Mr. Wells, I again tell you that this doesn't have anything to do with you being a bad parent. It has to do with forcing a 16-year-old who's adamant about not wanting to come at all and trying to give you a time with your daughter that is in the best advantage for you to try to rehabilitate your relationship. So that's the order of the court. And I'll ask that Mr. Frakes, since it would have seemed to me that he would be the prevailing party on this particular situation, Mr. Frakes needs to draft the order.
Judge, also just to confirm, those 2 weeks, they don't need to be consecutive or they need to be consecutive weeks in the summer?
Non-consecutive weeks. So that, and I only do that because of the desires of the young lady to, and Mr. Frakes will, Mr. Wells will need to make sure that when those weeks occur, he either schedules them around her activities or he gets her to those activities.
Okay.
Part of being a parent is getting your children to and from everything they've got to do, so.
And then so we've got June 9th to June 13th, but then 2 travel days won't count, correct?
Well, in my opinion, she doesn't want to be gone from home for 7 days. So we're not giving her 2 travel days, I'll give 1 travel
Okay.
day. So she'll have 4 days there and 1 travel day to or from, but that's how, part of that 4 days will be travel, 1 day extra will be for travel return.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.